going to get cozy today with you and relax and sit down. I'm a little tired and I want to eat my bag of nuts here. Mixed nuts, because I'm a mixed bag of nuts. And this is autumn and I feel like this is a great autumn treat. I feel like a squirrel. Today is going to be the autumn fall book tag. I was actually only tagged this a couple weeks ago, so I'm not very late. But Bookish Kelly, she was late in doing it and then tagged me. But she's great. So glad that I follow her channel. Make sure you subscribe to her too. Sorry for the chewing because these are just so good. I love these tag questions. You ready for it? Number 1, crunching leaves. The world is full of colors. Choose a book that has red, orange, or yellow on the cover. So I chose Winnie's Great War. This is a very sweet book. This is the inspiration behind Winnie the Pooh. The actual bear that A.A. Milne saw. So this is the backstory behind the actual bear that existed. I read this to my sons when it came out. We all loved it and I felt it was so touching. I probably cried because it was just so filled with wonderful things. This is about a guy that had a little bear that he raised. He was actually from Canada in a Canadian military and they raised the bear there. And then eventually it went to the zoo in England where A.A. Milne had seen Winnie. Cozy Sweater Weather, a book that feels like a warm hug. This was really tough because there were just so many books to think about, like what makes me feel warm when I read it. And I thought Heidi. I haven't really talked about Heidi here, but I love Heidi. Probably mentioned it once, but Heidi is such a great story. I need to read the sequels. I really do. I need to put that on my brain. Read Heidi sequels. If you don't know the story of Heidi, man, my glasses are smudged. Pardon me for a second while I clean my glasses. That's a little better. She's a girl, I believe in the Swiss Alps. There might be a more specific area, but her aunt brings her to live with her grandfather. And then there's a whole lot of story about her life. I just love that no matter what, she finds a way to make the best of her times, but she also she makes a lot of friends along the way and she touches her grandfather's heart. It's just so sweet. It just feels so much of the warmth that you feel when you are by a fire warming up your hands. This is what Heidi is like. Like after you're out in the cold, in the wintertime, in the top of the mountains, you go inside and you warm up and you feel so much better. 3, Pumpkin Spice Everything, a book everyone seems to love, but you might not. I was thinking about a few. There are a few. But The Weight of Glory by C.S. Lewis is one that I remember giving like 1 star to, and every single person I've ever talked to that is in Christian circles, they always say how much they love this book, and I wanted to love it. But as someone that really believes in the Mennonite teaching of how you see someone made in the image of God, you forgive, you see your enemy as someone that you have to show love to, even when it's hard, that whole aspect is very important to me. C.S. Lewis in this book, my main problem is that he was in the military. He fought in the war. So he's going to have that side of like how amazing and wonderful it was for him to be in the war. And I know so many people like that because my dad is a military person and his friends. And so I hear this pride of people that have been in wars. And so he makes this excuse to me. It's an excuse of why war is good and important. I see him contradicting himself throughout a couple of the chapters. And that always bothered me when I read that because I'm like, but he just said this here and now he's saying this, like make up your mind. But he doesn't give any scriptures. Like there are no scriptures throughout this book. So everyone just says this is such a great Christian book, but I see no scriptures in it to back up his opinions or his thoughts. He writes beautifully. I don't like it. I'm sorry. Crisp Fall Air, a book that made you feel refreshed and gave you a new perspective. So and another theological book that I love is Radical by David Platt. When this came out, there were a whole bunch of people that were saying, you got to read this. So like, I think there were multiple people in my church that read this and then we talked about it at the time, the church that I used to go to before I became a Mennonite. That is actually what instilled in me like this idea of living out the gospel in a better form or in a way that I didn't really think about it. And so it definitely gave me a new perspective. I mean, I'm still a Christian no matter the denomination. The way I viewed things changed. And there are a couple books that I could say that about, but this one I think was a major one, probably one of the second major ones that started to stir inside of me something. 5, apple picking, a book you picked up on a whim and ended up loving. This is one that might be a little weird. I haven't heard anyone talk about this book. I've heard of another book with the same title, but this book is The Theory of Everything, but by Carrie Luna. And it was adorable. And it was just really sweet. Like here on the picture, you see like someone dressed in a suit. This is about two people getting to know each other and finding connections. And it's just adorable. It's been a while since I read it, and thinking their conversations were sweet. The way they interacted, like you could feel their feelings, and it was just very nice. 6, Scary Movie Night, a book that genuinely spooked you. So this is a Christian book. This Present Darkness was a book I read in high school. I was, I think, a junior in high school. My husband actually gave me his copy to read. I think that was it. I saw this book a lot because my mom had it. So either I took my mom's copy or my husband's copy when we were dating, and I read it, and he had read it too. And then there was the sequel, Piercing the Darkness. And the whole book is about spiritual warfare. And to think that when I am involved with maybe something, a decision, and I have where there's spiritual warfare, where you think about angels and demons literally fighting over you, and that they're hoping you make the right decision, and how the Spirit of God moves you to where, you know, it's just like something that gave me perspective and made me think like, wow, I can't imagine like going through my day and thinking about all that goes on in the world, in the spiritual realm. It was just fascinating. So it spooked me, but like not in a bad way. I don't really read spooky books. Football Season, a book that had you cheering for the characters like they were your team. This one was hard because I didn't want to give like typical things like some of the series books. I wanted to do a standalone, and I thought about Wish Tree. Wish Tree was a very heartwarming book. I cried reading this to my family. It's about a tree that's lived for a long time, watching different people move into the houses around them. And he talks to the squirrels and all these things. This child, and then a child from a different culture, and they move in, and you see how they're made fun of just because of what their skin looks like, or what maybe religion they follow, and so they're being made fun of. The tree is trying to put people to help one another, and the tree is really trying, and you want to fight for this person that is being mistreated. And so that's why I was like, oh man, come on. So I really did feel like I was cheering the tree on and the people that were suffering. 8, Changing Leaves, a book where a character goes through a major transformation. Voyage of the Dawn Treader was the first one I thought of because of Eustace. Now, if you have not read the Chronicles of Narnia, this is the third book. Third book if you go from when it was released. That's how I read it. You have Eustace, and he is a troublemaker. He's annoying. I cannot stand him, but he goes through a major transformation because something happens to him. And if you don't know the story, I'm not going to give it away because I do think it's a great book. So he goes through this transformation. He suffers. He understands that he needs to have help, and he has to learn to humble himself. And then his whole demeanor changes, and he's amazing. And then it goes into the Silver Chair, and he's in that book too. So I just love how you get him so transformed. It's just so cool. Okay, 9, Pumpkin Patch, your favorite fall themed or autumn set book. This was hard too, because I could think of several books, but not a lot. But then I was thinking about the Traveling Cat Chronicles. This is a book that is about a cat and the people that he interacts with, and the man that he ends up living with and who takes care of him. And you learn the man's story and how the two of them connect. And I believe it's set in autumn. I'm pretty sure it was because, oh yes, I remember some of the plotline specific scenes in my head. And it is a little heartbreaking at times, a little sad. And this is a Japanese book that was translated. So part of this book has a road trip. So Cat and the guy that has the cat goes to visit his friends, and then they communicate about different memories and different things that impacted them in their lives while talking about this cat too. Bonfire Nights. This is number 10, a book you'd want to read with friends or discuss in a group. I would love if I could read some true crime books with people and discuss them with them. I would love that. And the first one that I would really want to read is The Man No One Believed. So let's read what this says. The Man No One Believed, the untold story of the Georgia church murders. The riveting story of a 1985 double murder, a long overdue investigation, and the fight to exonerate an innocent man. In 1985, a white man walked into a South Georgia church and brutally murdered Harold and Thelma Swain, two pillars of the area's Black community. The killer vanished into the night. For 15 years, the case remained unsolved. Then a authorities zeroed in on Dennis Perry, a carpenter who grew up nearby. Convicted with devastatingly flawed evidence, Perry received a double life sentence. When award-winning journalist and South Georgia native Joshua Sharp retraces the case, he discovers a winding path of corruption, devastating missteps, and secrets. Driven by the pursuit of the truth, Sharp's investigation takes him through dusty courthouse archives, down winding dirt roads, and into intense interviews. But he keeps knocking on doors even after they're slammed in his face. Sharp uncovers explosive evidence that helps prove Dennis Perry's innocence, and he confronts a long-ignored suspect, an alleged white supremacist who had bragged about committing the murders. But the fight for the truth is not easily won. When a key figure in the investigation turns up dead under suspicious circumstances, Sharp's sources and editors insist that he could be in danger. And even as evidence mounts of Perry's innocence, local officials work to keep him in prison until Sharp's reporting forces the state to launch a new investigation 35 years after the Swains murders. Driven by Sharp's tireless reporting, the man no one believed tells the unbelievable story of one of the most confounding cases in Georgia history, the extraordinary fight to free an innocent man, and how state officials worked against the odds to deliver justice for the Swains after all. Wow, so this is one I definitely have been wanting to read this, but it would be great if anyone wants to read this with me. I've never done a buddy read, and I know I read really quickly, but we could do it like in a month's time if you need. You know, we could talk about it. I'd love that. 11, Hay Rides and Corn Mazes, a book that kept you guessing and had lots of twists and turns. There were a few books that I was thinking of, but one of them was one I read a few years ago called Last Girl Ghosted. This is about a girl. She had a relationship with this guy and she just doesn't hear from him suddenly. And she gets like a private investigator. She wants to know what happened and she doesn't know if something happened to him or what. And it ends up becoming a mystery and things start to unravel. And I just loved this book. I don't remember the content in it so much though, but I just remember the story was very interesting, had a little bit of twists, not too much, but a little bit. 12, Thankful Heart. It is going to be Thanksgiving. Probably, I don't know when this will be out. This video is being recorded before Thanksgiving. If it's after Thanksgiving, I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving if you're in the US, but a book that you're grateful exists. So other than the Bible, I'm going to say Little Women. And it's not even one of my very favorite books, but it's a book that I just adore so much. The story is just so wonderful. And it's so interesting how Louisa May Alcott didn't really want to write this story and she didn't really like it, but it's what got her very known. But it's also about her family in different ways. And it's just amazing. So I'm going to say this book because, I mean, it makes me wish I had sisters. It is very sad, but very good, has romance in it, has great family dynamic, and has fun stories. Number 13, First Frost, a book that gave you chills, spooky, atmospheric, or emotional. Wow. But this is like similar to the scary movie night question, right? But slightly different. A book that gave me the chills. Something happened with my screen. I don't know what happened and where it happened, but I'll probably zoom in to that spot for a while. But now I'm back. So just so you know, the book that just was really, really incredible, but really sad. I have read so many horrible books, okay, but Tortured for Christ, there is one scene in particular with a father and his son in this that was so impactful and so sad, but so beautiful. And I can't imagine going through that. But this whole book is about people during the Soviet Union. I can't remember which country. It might have been Romania. In the country, they're not allowed to be Christians, or they were not allowed to be. And it was a communist run government. So when they were found out, they were usually brought in, treated terribly, tortured for Christ. Just the story is so amazing, so horrifying all at once. Well, thank you so much for being here. Bookish Kelly, thank you for tagging me. I will probably tag people, and I know Autumn, it still goes in through December. So if you want to do this, you can. If you want to hold it till next year somehow, you can do that too. Or if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. But I loved it. It was very fun. So thank you. All right, bye. Back to eating my nuts.